Today we're going to be talking about conducting a job safety analysis. I think all of you have got a training manual such as this one here. So if you'll turn to page 5 in that training manual. On page 5 we have a trainer introduction icebreaker sheet. What we'll be doing here real quickly is just going over, introduce myself, and hopefully each one of you can read down through here and give us a brief analysis of yourself. So my name's Scott Smith. I'm the site manager for MTS Solutions here at Honda Manufacturing of Alabama. And as I said earlier, we're going to be doing conducting a job safety analysis during our weekly safety training today. So what I'd like for you to do as part of this icebreaker is to introduce yourself. We've got a few new people in the room today, so we'll start off with Beth. If you could just tell us your name and what you do here for Nexio.
I'm Beth Land. I work driving tugger for trash cardboard.
If you could stand up, Tommy, maybe look back at Jeff.
I'm Tom Cameron. I pull the carts or trash and stuff from cafeteria, offices, and all the other places that need to be pulled.
Matt Brown, material handler.
Chris Gwynn, material handler, line 1.
Adrian Smiley, material handler, line 1.
Casey Clark, contractor room, line 1 and 2.
Showing oil, float tip, line 1.
Larry Bradshaw, tugger driver, line 1.
John Hartfield, tugger driver, line 2.
Jason Relish, compact room.
Kendrick Booker, line 2, compact room.
Kevin Lear, line 2, floor tech.
Spencer Pratt, shift lead, line 1.
Bill Bothwell, cart puller, line 1.
Sean Ferris, compact room, line 1.
Scott Kramer, shift lead, line 2.
Roy Robinson, shift lead, line 1.
Linda Schnellenberger, admin assistant.
Jimmy Collins, driver.
Randall Calhoun, maintenance tech.
Antonio Hamilton, shift lead, line 2.
Very good, thank you. We'll jump right into the presentation here, and you can follow along with your booklets there, training manuals. Click on here, and some of the objectives that we have today for this training session for everybody here is to describe what a job safety analysis is. You might not know what a job safety analysis is, and hopefully by the end of this class you'll know what it is and be able to describe it. The next thing is, who should create job safety analysis? Should it be you? Should it be the team leader? Should it be myself, supervisor? Who is supposed to do it and why? And then the last thing, everybody in here before we leave should be able to just demonstrate their ability to create a job safety analysis that we can use here at the workplace. Ultimately, this is our ultimate goal. We all know in this room that safety is our core value. And our goal is to reduce and ultimately eliminate workplace illnesses and injuries. We all know that we do not want to have injuries and illnesses. And the way we do that is we identify critical steps, we recognize potential hazards, and then we put safety controls in place to make sure that we don't get injured or have illnesses. So what is a job safety analysis? Job safety analysis is merely a tool. It's a document. You can lay it out on a dry erase board like I've got behind me here, and we have around the room here. We can make it on a small document like your training manual you have in your hand, and all it is identifying the critical steps and looking for potential hazards and then putting safety controls in place. So you might ask yourself, why are we here today? Hopefully it was for more than the pizza and soft drinks we had earlier. Why should we conduct a JSA? You see Randall there and Jeff there by one of our Nexio trucks. Well, here's the key reasons why. People are the greatest asset. Many of you have heard me say that many times before. You all are the biggest asset. We don't want you to get injured or have illnesses here. Safety is our core value, and we want to reduce and ultimately eliminate any injuries or illnesses. So here are the key elements that I was talking about. Many of you are flipping along in your manuals, and that's really good. You can either look up here or use your manual, or you can make notes with your pen. We want to identify the critical workplace job task steps. Then recognize the potential hazards, and then put in safety control measures. So the first phase of that is identifying critical workplace job task steps. You can see in this picture here, we got two team leaders. We've got Roy and Scott. And what they're doing is they're pumping used oil from a tote to a vacuum truck. That's something we do here on a regular basis. So what I want to talk to you about now is a short demonstration on how we go about identifying the critical steps. So if we look up here on the dry erase board, what I've done is labeled a job safety analysis and the task. The job or task that we have of labeling used oil drum. This may be something that everybody in this room has done. I know we have a few new people. You may not necessarily be used oil, but you've labeled a drum before. Most of us have. So the core steps, critical steps to labeling a drum, and I've brought us in a prop here so we can see that, is obtain a drum of used oil. So that's what this is. Trust me, because I've forgotten some of the residue on my hand here. Drum of used oil. We obtain an EPA used oil label. Right now we currently have two different types here. Got one that looks like this, one that looks like this. We're transitioning to this type. Complete the data on the label if applicable. If we have one of these, we're supposed to label and I put the information on here already. This says it's generated here at Honda, and the address and where it came from, Plant 1 Nexio. And then the next stage would be to actually take one of the labels, preferably the one that's been filled out, and peel off the back of here. That might be a little bit of a challenge. Slap it on the drum here. And now we have place the label on the drum, and then we would move that drum to storage. So for our material handlers and team leads, they would come pick up this drum, lids on it, drum labels on it, and they could move it to storage to be shipped out or pumped out to the vacuum truck. So you see how these are the critical steps to that simple task. We're looking just at the main steps. We don't need to know necessarily peel the plastic back off. It's just the critical steps of accomplishing that task. Make sense? So what we want to do now is a small group activity to do basically the same thing that I showed you up here, so everybody can learn how to do these critical steps. So what I'm going to need to do is just pair you off, and the first 4 people go to one of the dry erase boards. We'll just go down through. So it'll be Beth to Chris, that's 4 people. Maybe you can use this board here. Each board has a dry eraser and a black and blue marker. So in groups of 4, just gather around the boards, and this is going to be on page 13 in your training manual. Hold on. All right, so is everybody in a group? All right, so if everybody can look up here one more time. I know you got your training manuals, but what we're going to do is, the part of this activity is it tells you on page 13 what the activity is. What you need to do is briefly, within your group, come up with a team name. It can be anything. Obviously, there should be no profanity or anything like that involved, but come up with a team name right at the top of your chart. And then once you do that, there's a task in here, and I've got the slide up here. Work together to come up with a 5 to 7 bullet point list of the key task steps that it takes to pump used oil from a tote to the vacuum truck. So basically what you're going to be doing here is if you were explaining this to somebody else that's never worked here, what are the key steps for Scott and Roy here when they do this and they have to pump? What are the key steps to pump that oil from here to that vacuum truck? What all they got to do? You got 10 minutes to do it. Go ahead. That's what you want to do. Come up with your own. And once you're done, then we'll talk about it. So we got 10 minutes. You're doing great. You're doing great. Everybody's doing great. Some good team names. Very good. Very good. Oh, the 18. A lot of thinking going on over here. Very good. I see a lot of good ideas going on. Be careful. There's a lot of soft drinks and waters on the floor when you're walking around. Take a look before you walk around. I had just asked if I've ever had to do one of these. This is how I learned how to do my first job safety analysis too. See, this is, I'm just not asking you to do something that we just made up. I've been through this training. Jeff, our site supervisor, has been through this training before in the past too. Let's plan to wrap up what you got in about 2 minutes. Come up with whatever you want. Just don't put it like How you coming along, Kevin? You hiding your board? Okay. helps to have two of the guys that are in the picture in your team.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody else picked up on that but me. Said it helps to have the two people that are in the picture on your same team. You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're doing it right. It just means they're.
They ought to do it right.
Let's wrap it up. Finish up your last words and it'll be fine like it is. Don't sit down yet though. Stand up by your board and looks like everybody's got their final notes done. So let's just start over here on this side of the room. Maybe you could pick a spokesperson for your group and who's going to talk. Okay, we'll start over here on the right side here with, looks like it's Best Bunch. So this is Best Bunch. So tell the rest of the class what you came up with on the task of pumping used oil from a tow to a vacuum truck.
Well, I actually picked my own. So we could pick our own task. We did our own.
Okay.
It's clean up battery acid spill, get proper PPE and spill cleanup supplies, clear out an area around spill, pour acid neutralizer on the acid, put busted battery in a bucket, clean up neutralizer, label the battery bucket, take bucket to storage, and dispose of neutralizer.
Very good. So this group decided to do another one. And that works too, because the process is what we're looking at here. So very good job, Best Bunch. So let's round of applause for Best Bunch. Very good job. Vincent, what did you guys come up with? You are who now?
Team VP.
Does that stand for Vincent Pratt?
Yes.
All right, so go through what your group come up with.
Okay, you place whatever you're pumping within reach of the hose or back the truck up to it. Make sure the parking brake is applied. Push the clutch and pull the lever to engage the pump. Make sure the valve is closed on the front of the pump and hook up the hose to the truck. Put the hose in the tote, open the valve on the back of the truck and begin pumping.
Very good, very good. Okay, Scott, what is your group name?
The Four Tops.
Very good. Tell us a little bit about what your group come up with.
Well, first thing we did was place the totes in the containment area, back pump truck up to the containment area, open lids on totes, pull hose off the truck and place inside totes, turn on the pump, turn on the valve, pump till empty, pull hose out of tote, turn off valve, turn off pump.
Very good detail there. Good job, Four Tops. Okay, Larry, what's your group come up with here? Adrian speaking?
Yep. We kind of with the line one thing. First, you gotta go and get the first in order to start up the process of pumping the oil out of the drum.
Oh, so you gotta have the truck first. If you don't have the truck, you can't do it, right?
Get a forklift from the compactor room, move your toes inside of the tank farm. Then take the hose and connect to the back truck. Set up drums to pump into the back truck. Take the totes and set up to the pump oil from the back truck into the totes.
Very good, line one team. Gotta make sure you have the truck, or it doesn't do any good. Very good. All right, we got, looks like super group back there. This ought to be super good. It's super good. All right, who's speaking back there for super group?
Any of us not familiar with pumping used oil to the vacuum truck, we just came up with some critical steps for safety.
Okay, very good.
Number one is always put on wearing proper PPE, of course. Check equipment for any damage. Evaluate and plan the task. to identify any hazards. Number 5, we sit behind each other.
Very good. The super group came up with personal protective equipment. Remember, we can't do a job without our safety gear. So very good, super group. And who we got back here in the back? Looks like the A team with Tony and Randall back there. What did the A team come up with?
Number one, make sure you have your proper PPE before you start any task. 2, pull all the drums out to be pumped. Loosen all bungs on drums. Check the pump truck, do the inspection on the pump truck, make sure everything is in working condition before you start. Pull the hose from the truck. Drop the hose into the drum. Start pumping, and always check for leaks in the hose while you're pumping.
Very good. So you want to check for leaks when you're doing it too, so we don't pollute the environment. Okay, now that everybody's done that, we can take our seats again. So I hope everybody had fun doing that little activity, something different, get your mind thinking. While we were over here on the Line 1 team, Larry stopped me and asked me, well, what about the hazards? And that's a good question. That's the next thing we're going to be talking about as part of the job safety analysis. So he's thinking ahead. That's a good thing. That step was to get your mind thinking about looking at the critical steps. Now we're going to recognize potential hazards. Anybody see any hazards in this picture at all?
The pallet up on the side.
So, this pallet here is up on it, standing up.
Fiber drum out on the pallet.
Fiber drum not on the pallet here.
It looks like the shower's blocked.
Shower might be blocked. Well, we got some fuel in here, some hazardous waste up in here, is probably some gasoline, so there's potential for ignition of gasoline at any time. You know, if there's ignition. You know, in the big tanks there's gasoline, so we have to be careful. And there's chemicals, so what did super group come up with first? We have to make sure we have our PPE on when we're working in areas like this. We also have a forklift here, so we obviously know when we're on a forklift, there could be hazards with that. We could run into things, fall off of it. So let's look. Hit the back key. Let's look at identifying some things. What are hazards? Well, here's some ways to recognize potential hazards in the workplace. Caught in between an object. How many people drive a tug in here? We've talked recently about turning your body so you can see traffic coming, but you didn't want to be caught in between. That's what they're saying, between a steel cart and something on the assembly line like a rack. Struck by or against object. Larry, that was a month ago or so. You had another driver from another company that went by. He was actually struck by another cart that was coming. He can give you first-hand knowledge on that. Luckily, he didn't get hurt, but it was struck by. What about caught in or on an object? If we place our body in a piece of equipment and we get caught up in it. Going the wrong way. Not sure why that's happening. So, what about pinch and net points, or small pinch points where you can pinch your fingers in between, like say, the metal ring on the steel drum over here? Sharp edges. What about this table? It's kind of got rounded edges, but what if our work areas we have something that's sharp? That's why we wear things like gloves. Falls. When I told you a minute ago when we were doing the activity, I talked about falls that you had. When I noticed when I walked around, I was looking, there's soft drinks, there's water bottles on the floor. Falls from both same levels or a fall from a high level. Exposure to chemicals, heat and light sources, and vibration. Heavy lifting, pulling, pushing, bending, and twisting, and then slips, trips, and falls. How about flying debris? You might be doing some cutting down at the laydown yard or grinding, or they might be doing some out in the plant and there's flying materials, or anybody ever seen anybody welding or cutting and there's embers flying?
There's debris that comes out of the carts when somebody's on the cart, I've seen that happen.
You might throw something in, that's a good point, dust come up, that's why we wear our safety glasses. Previous incident severity, previous incident frequency. You can also look if we're having incidents. How many times have we talked about near misses along tuggers? If we're having an incident that keeps happening, we want to put that in as a potential hazard. Take that into consideration when we do these job safety analyses. If we're having a bunch of injuries because of that area, we need to look at that one before we do one on something that's not nearly as important. So what we have next is to help. You've heard me talk. I put a few bullet points up here, but very good video on recognizing hazards. This is one of the key points of doing a job safety analysis, being able to put on your glasses and look and utilize your knowledge to look for things that potentially happen and expect the unexpected. So what we'll do now is show this video.
Themselves in danger until it was
Looks like
too late.
I tripped over the
They
cord.
failed to realize that they were in no trouble.
It reset itself. So what we'll do is we'll go back and start the video over.
Each of these incidents, while seemingly unrelated,
All right, I think we're ready to go. Sorry about that. My big old foot tripped over the cord a minute ago and had to reset it. So, this video, like I said, is going to show you some recognized hazards. There are, you throw a disclaimer in there are some graphic pictures in some of it. So if that's something that bothers you, kind of look the other way.
on March the 12th, Freddie Jones lost his finger while using a crane. On September 10th, Lanny Powell was crushed to death when he entered an area frequently used by heavy equipment. And on Friday afternoon, just about quitting time, Scott Tucker's leg was crushed when he removed a chop that was securing a large pipe. Each of these incidents, while seemingly unrelated, share a common thread. None of the workers recognized that they had placed themselves in danger until it was too late. They failed to realize that they were in the line of fire. There are many reasons we may fail to notice when we are in harm's way. We may be distracted. We may have become complacent, or we simply may not understand the existence of the hazard. And as Troy Lopo discovered, what you don't know can hurt you.